Hello there guys, and welcome back to our Audi R8 car modelling tutorial here. And what we're going to do is we are going to now have a think about smoothing this off, making it all look nice, separating some of the panels, all that good stuff. And then we'll start thinking about kind of the auxiliary components such as the grills, all the meshes and lights, and everything else. So we're looking quite good so far. In the previous episodes we worked down the door and across the top here for the roof. So we've got all the base mesh laid out quite nicely. So now that the base mesh is done, the idea is now that we go in, we add all those core details, we split everything up as well. So let's have a think then inside here. So we're going to want to have a go at separating some of these panels first. What we also want to do with this time is we do want to make sure that everything is looking quite nice. So for example here, we've got areas where the geometry is dipping down a little bit. We also have areas here where there's not quite enough information. So let's drop in an edge loop here. And we can see that's looking good there. We've got a triangle here, so we know that that's going to be okay. So let's drop that in. And then what we want to do with this is we want to pull this out here. Just to help kind of form the curvature of a hood, like so. And then it does look like maybe on this front end here we want to extend this just a little bit as well, and bring those forward. Okay, so we're probably not actually going to do the hood today, but it's nice just to make sure everything's looking nice inside there. So we can see there that's looking nice with that extra line going across, a bit more curvature. We probably will add a bit more information going across. I think we definitely, when we come to the hood, we will need to add this on here. But we don't need to worry about the hood just now, because we are going to have a look at our bumper going down here. So before we do, let's just make sure all our geometry along here is looking nice, which it is. It's looking good through there. It's looking quite nice. So let's start then with splitting the bumper from the rest of the components here. So let's go for our mesh tool. Is going to insert edge loop, and we're going to drop an edge loop on here, like so. So with an edge loop, it is going to match, or try to match, the rest of the geometry, so we can see it's thicker on one side than it is on the other. So I'm going to grab my vertex here. I'm going to go to edge on my constraints here, just to make sure that I'm not going to be deforming this too radically. So we'll pull that down like so. It looks like we want this to come down a little bit here, and we want that just to be as consistent as possible all the way along in terms of the gap. This is also a modern car, and the thing with modern cars is the gaps are generally very small. In the older cars it was a lot bigger, but that's looking like it's going to be okay. So now we've got that nailed and we're happy with how that looks. I think that's looking okay from this side as well. Once we're happy with that, just going to turn off my transform constraints here. Once we're happy, I'm going to select faces. I'm going to select all those new faces and just hit delete. So we now have a nice panel gap inside there. What we can do with this now is we shouldn't have any more connections to that portion. So I'm going to go to mesh, and then let's do separate. So see now that we've got an individual bumper here. I am going to delete the whole other side. Maybe do it for the front split as well. So we are going to delete the whole other side of the car here. And I'm going to select my option. I'm going to go to edit, and let's go duplicate special and open up our little window here. And what we want to be selected inside here, hopefully this should work okay. We're going to have instance selected rather than copy. And then on the x-axis here, we're going to say -1. We're going to hit duplicate special, and that will bring our other side in for us. And the reason we're going to do that is because if I was to hit vertices on here, for example, and grab this one, we can see if I pull it on this side, the other side is going to deform too. So we're just going to mirror that. If your software that you're working in doesn't have that ability, then it's fine to just keep modeling, and then you can duplicate it all at the end. This looks a bit thick, so I'm just going to bring this in here. so. What we could do, let's just bring this out a little bit. Okay, so we want to make sure everything's nice and fine-tuned just now. So I'm looking at the reference images, for example, and I just want to make sure that everything is looking how it should at this point, because as soon as we start adding in more loops and things, it's going to get a little bit more awkward. So what we're going to do then, the first thing is we're going to select this. I'm going to hit 3 on my keyboard, and by hitting 3, what's going to do is it's going to subdivide what we have inside here. And if I remove my wireframe, we can kind of see what we're working with our finished product. We can see that by default straight away with the geometry that we've made, we've done quite a decent job already, which is good. But what we want to do is we want to add in more loops in order to add a better structure to these elements here. Now, what we could do is we could create the vents and things just now, but I think what we'll do is let's have a go at creating the actual details in here. So we're going to do a couple of methods. I'm going to hide everything else, and what I generally like to do to all of my components here is I do like to give them a lip. We already have a little bit of a lip, so we're just going to match that. So I'm going to grab all these edges down here. We already have one at the bottom, so that's fine. I'm going to hit Control E for extrusion, and on the red arrow I'm just going to pull this in. I've gone on the world option, I'm just going to pull that in, and we're just going to go as far as the previous extrusion here. That's going to allow me then to grab those, and I'm going to merge those 2 vertices at that corner, and then I'm going to do the same down here and merge those ones too. So we have some depth to this bumper now. What we might want to do is we might want to do the same across here. So we'll grab all these edges all the way to the back there. I'm going to hit Control E, and this time on the world I'm going to pull them on the blue, and I'm just going to go as far as what we have over here, and I'm going to select these here and edit mesh, and we can merge those together. Okay, so we've got some thickness now, because obviously if we were to take this bumper off in real life, there would be some general thickness to it, some additional thickness to it that's not is going to be more on behind than what we can see, and we can see that those changes have been applied to this bumper over here, this side over here, which is good. Okay, so what we'll also maybe do is we'll maybe do the same, because we can see that that might not go how we want it to go as is. So I'm going to select these 2 options here, I'm going to edit mesh, and we'll bridge that gap up there. Okay, so let's then think about what we want to do here. So we want to kind of sharpen everything off. We can see that already we're quite nice and sharp here, but probably not quite sharp enough. So the first thing we can do is I'm going to grab my mesh tools and insert edge loop. The first and easiest thing we can do is we're going to drop an edge loop here, just on the inside. It's going to run all the way around that inside for us. And what that's going to do when we hit 3 is we can see that that edge now on the inside is really nice and sharp, which is exactly what we want it to be. Okay. What we can also do is we're going to want to drop one on the outside as well, but we can see down here it's not going to flow where we want it to do. So if I was to hit my mesh tools and insert edge loop and drop one on the outside here, it's going to flow to this edge, and what we actually want it to do is we want it to keep going all around there, or we could have it run around that side. So we need to do a little bit of a change there. What we can do just now is we can reflect that same edge loop, and we'll drop one in here on the inside just there. And then what we could also do is we could also drop one in the same spot going up here, just so we can be fairly consistent with that. Okay. And again, now if we hit 3, we can see that we've got some nice sharp defined edges running inside there, so that's looking really nice for us. We do want to think about this lower edge, but before we think about that, we need to think about kind of what's going to happen if we was to start affecting this lower edge. So firstly what we'll probably want to do is we will probably want to just having a look, maybe down here what we could do is we could actually bring that over here and then get rid of those. So just make that off, tee that off into a triangle there. We will want that to reflect down here, because remember we did use this mesh, so what we'll do is we'll just select those edges there and hit delete on those, just so it's going to match when we go for the smooth between the two. Start with one, let's bring these back. If we can just find that one selection, there we go. Okay, so that's looking okay down there. So let's maybe go for an edge loop, and let's run one down on the outside of this here, and we can see now that that's going to stop at that bottom point, which is fine just now. So we can hit 3, and we can see now that we've got really nice definition going down on this portion here, which is good. Okay, let's think about the top real quick, and what we could do is we can run an edge along here, nice and close, which is going to go all the way up that top point, and let's also run an edge along here. So we can see that's going to run along that point there for us as well. We can hit 3, so we can see that we've got some nice definition running up there as well. We do want to hold this angle here, and we want to hold these angles a little bit better. So let's go and drop maybe a loop there and there, and then we can drop one here as well, something like that. First we want to go top down, and we just want to make sure we're not making that jagged, which we're not. That's looking fine. And we haven't done it up there either, so that's looking good. We've got a bit more form up there too. And let's grab our edge loops and let's drop one at the top here to help maintain this, and maybe a bit lower down here as well. So we can see that that's looking a little bit nicer there, a bit more like the actual car, which is fine. I think what we might want to do is we might want to actually grab this, maybe take these vertices here and here. I think we'll want to pull this in a little bit. Something like that, just so it's got a bit more kind of inner curve at that lower portion. Like this, that's looking nice. Okay. Just having a look at the lower portion down here. So we do want to run a line down this lower portion. So let's grab our insert edge loop tool again, and let's drop one just here, and maybe one just here as well. Maybe that's a bit too close to the edge. Something like that. So we just wanted to add edges in. Wanted to hit 3 to smooth it off, to see how it looks. So we see now we've got a much more defined lip that runs along that bottom portion, which is good. We do want to think about these bits, so let's grab our edge loop tool. I think we do want to drop an edge in here, something like that, because we do have a defined line that runs along there. Actually, let's maybe get rid of that one, and let's actually run one along here instead, because we do have a defined line there, and that means we only need to add the one line instead of the two. So you can see that that's cut in that corner for us, and it's also created that bit inside there, which is good. I think what we want to do is we want to add an edge in here about halfway, because it does look like this bit here actually curves. So we'll pull that out a little bit there. And then it looks like it curves up as well. Something like that. So a little extra curvature to that, so it's not going to be completely straight. That's looking quite nice. Let's grab another edge loop, because it looks like we want one to run down here. We do have a problem here. We can see that that's actually stopped because we have a triangle. So let's draw this in along here, like so, and that would have stopped running up there. So let's grab our insert edge loop. What we can see, what's actually happened is it's ran up the way here, which we don't want it to. So let's hold down Control Delete, and we'll delete all the edges that are running up there, because we don't want that. We want this edge here to run down and along this way, because we want it to double run up that side. So let's do the same here. Let's grab this and we'll go there. Okay. So we're going to go to Insert Edge Loop, and we'll drop one along here, and then we can link those up like so. And then we're going to go Insert Edge Loop again, and again it's going to stop here because we've broke the quads over here, so it means we can link those two. And then we don't want this tiny triangle. This will look really bad, so let's just target weld. Let's actually not target weld. Let's grab them both and go Edit Mesh and Merge, just so they meet in the middle a bit more. Okay, so we see now that's running off up there, so which is going to define that line for us, which is good. And then what we want to do for this is we're going to want to grab our Insert Edge Loop again, and we are going to want to drop one in here, just like we did in that middle portion. Okay, so that's looking okay. It's not looking the best. It's not looking the best just now, and I think it's because of this line here. So I'm just going to delete that. Double click and hold in Control to hit delete. So rather than, let's maybe, because we do want a little bit of something here, I'm going to hold Control, let's delete that one. Let's grab our Insert Edge Loop tool, and let's drop two, not really close. That should hold those better in position for us. So that works nice. So let's actually drop this line back in then. And we want to make sure it's the same kind of distance as down there. Because so we can see that's running up to that point now much smoother. That transition there is a lot smoother, which is good. And then we've got the run up in that here, which is fairly smooth as well, which is nice. Okay. So we've got maybe a couple more. Let's go Insert Edge Loop, and let's drop one along here, because we want that main crease to maintain, and then we want this one to maintain, and this one as well. So nice sharp angles going around that archway there. So we can see now we've got a nice defined line running down here, and then we're running along all the way that front bumper, which is looking good. And then the last thing we want is we have this portion in here. This is quite a defined line, so what we're going to do is we're going to grab all of the edges associated with that, and I'm going to go to Edit Mesh. I'm going to hit Bevel on this, and let's see how that looks. Okay, so we can see we've got that defined line, but it's not looking too good up here. We've got a little bit of awkwardness. So let's grab Let's actually target weld these down, something like that, all the way in. So we've just got the two verts there. We've got that one edge. Okay, so that's a bit cleaner over here, and then we can see we've got that level of definition that we want in that portion, which is fine. What we might do is we might do the same with this top. Let's drop an edge here, and we'll bring this and merge this up here to the same vertices. Hopefully that's not going to overload it, which it doesn't. Okay, so I think that's probably too much, so let's actually undo that. We don't need that inside there. I think that'll be okay for now. I think that's going to be enough definition for us to see that in the render when the light hits it. So I think that would be fine. So the front bumpers, for the most part, is looking pretty good. What I generally like to do at this point is I like to create a new material for this. So I'm going to go for a new blend, maybe a little bit lighter. And I like to drop blends on them when we get to the smoothing stage, just so that we can see the way that light is kind of hitting it a little bit better. So we can see that it's hitting all the points that we need. We can see we've got clear definition at that point there. And we've got clear definition running around that whole portion. So we can see that compare this to the base mesh that we had before, is almost night and day. Now we do have a tow arm here, or an area for towing, obviously towing the front the Audi if it was to get stuck or something. So we'll maybe add that in afterwards, because we may come back in here and make some edits. So what we'll do is, once this is completely fully final at the end, we'll duplicate it over, we'll make the little changes to this corner down here, and then we'll merge them together into the one object. So whilst we're here, let's maybe do this object here. I'm going to hold down D and X on my keyboard to get that pivot in the center, because we want the pivot in the center for us to hit the duplicate special. But we can see here that that's flipped, that's gone a little bit weird. The easiest way to kind of fix that, I find, is just to grab two major objects like these. We can go mesh, combine, and then we just go mesh and separate. And we can see now the pivot's in the right spot, and then we can just hit duplicate special and I'll throw that across for us. So what we want to do with this diffuser is realistically we just want to mirror what we have with our portion above. So we can see here, let's just show, we can see that we've got an error there. We don't want that extra face inside there. Okay. So let's maybe take all of these, because we do want to reflect similar geometry. I'm just going to hit 1 on the keyboard to bring that back out of the subdivision. We just want to make sure that if we've had any vertical additions to this, so we can see here we've got 2 vertical additions, we need to make sure that we add those inside here as well. So let's grab our mesh tools and insert edge loop. I'm going to drop those in so that they're matching the best we can on both sides, like so. So now when we smooth those off, they'll smooth in a very similar way. Let's go then and add some edge loops. So by the looks of it, is we're going to want to drop one at the top here where they meet. We're going to drop one on either side in here, and let's drop one on the underside as well. Okay. Don't want to add under there, I don't think. We'll reflect the same here, so we'll drop on both portions there. Okay, so we can see that this hasn't gone all the way, which is a little bit awkward. It might have worked fine for you on your model, maybe just a little issue on my one. But let's draw this in. We'll draw this lower one as well. like that. So just keep an eye on your edge loops. Just make sure they're running everywhere they need to. You can hit 3 on there, and let's get rid of this wireframe so we can see. So see, we've got a nice strong line going along there, just like in the actual one, and we'll come along here. Looks like the problem is going to be with this here. So let's maybe grab all these faces and hit Control E for an extrusion. I'm just going to extrude in, just on the scale. Let's see if that's resolved any problems. It hasn't. Okay, so it hasn't resolved that problem, so let's just Control Z that back. The issue is probably because this is thin. So let's grab the lower portion of all of these. I'm going to hit Control E. Actually, let's not do that. I still have the back of this, so it could be that that's causing the problem. Because we're not going to need all of these extra faces inside here, so let's just go in and delete all of these. So delete all of the rear facing edges there. See if that's improved it for us. Okay, so we can see now that that's much cleaner as it goes up there, which is fine. Okay, so that's looking really nice. Again, let's go for new material. I'm going to create a new blend. This time I'm going to make the blend a bit darker, but maybe we'll up the specular a little bit. And then we can apply that blend there to all of our darker materials inside there, which is good. So we do have a little bit of discrepancy in the center here, so that's just because everything's not fully in the middle, which isn't a big deal. But what we'll do is let's grab them all and just hit the scale, and then I'm just going to hold X and snap them into the middle. We could do the same here if we wanted to. Grab everything here with the scale, scale them all into a straight line, hold an X, snap down to the center. The overall plan is to merge these two halves together anyway. That's looking quite good. And then again, if we bring in the rest of the model here, we can see that it's almost night and day, the difference between our base mesh at the top there and then our subdivided smooth mesh down here. So I think that's looking pretty good. I can't see anything that we need to really add at this point to this portion, which is nice. I think in the next episode what we'll do is we'll maybe have a go at the kind of auxiliary components inside here. So we'll start building like shrouds for the honeycomb meshes in each of these, and then maybe a shroud for the headlight, because a lot of modern cars they have multiple steps now. Before it would be a case that we have body, light. Now what we have is we have body and then plastic and then light. With all the housing, we've got a little vent that goes here too. I'm just having a look, and a little bit thinking that this needs to be a bit stronger. So we're going to go for one more edge loop, maybe about here, not all the way. We'll just go maybe there. We'll hit 3. Because I think that we want that to be a bit sharper than it was. So that's looking better. That's looking nice and smooth all the way around there. Alright guys, so I think what we'll do is we'll stop there for this episode. So like I said, in the next episode we'll maybe think about some auxiliary components around here, building some of the plastic shrouds that go inside. So if you liked the video, hit that thumbs up. If you didn't, hit the thumbs down. Subscribe to the channel so you can catch all the rest of the episodes for this series, and I'll see you guys in the next one.